serving in Iraq was a life-changing experience for me, as it is for any veteran. I just missed the Vietnam War, so I didn't think I would have one in my lifetime in the service. But I would think one of the stories that I'll always remember is prior to the war beginning, meeting with all of the first units that were going in. We had a prayer meeting in the camps in Kuwait, and had a worship service, and all chaplains were gathering, but a laying on of hands, anointing with oil, and praying for every chaplain and chaplain assistant that would be the initial chaplains with their units to go into harm's way is probably one of the experiences I'll never forget. God has a plan for all of our lives, but that unique group of chaplains and chaplain assistants, although there were several Purple Hearts of our chaplain and chaplain assistants who were wounded, none of them were killed. I would share in the Green Zone a particular instance, and again, people look at a chaplain and I guess they may see a priest, they may see a rabbi, they may see an imam. In my case, a Protestant. I remember an Iraqi woman, Christian woman, whose community had been decimated and taken as a result of the evil regime prior to us coming there, and she wanted that particular day to see a priest. And there were no priests available. I was the only chaplain close by, so this elderly Iraqi woman who had been beaten, property taken, one of her daughters, all of her teeth had been knocked out, and this woman was wanting to talk to a chaplain. And basically what she told me that particular day is how she had prayed as a Christian for years for God. And she said something along the line, she says, "I've prayed for years that God would send His angels." And she said with tears and looking at me, she says, "You've come, you've come." And so regardless of what people think about our troops, here's a woman whose family was forever changed by an evil regime, but she looked at our troops in Iraq as angels of mercy that God had sent to release the oppression that they had experienced. Being with my troops in battle and our chaplains and chaplain assistants, keeping them encouraged as they stood in harm's way is just an experience that I'll never forget. An individual comes up to me in civilian clothes and he said, "Chaplain, I'd like to talk to you. Never missed services." Sat on the second row, always just full of a great smile and countenance and peace of God. One day he wanted to talk to me. He says, "Chaplain, do you know what I do?" And I said, "No, but you're in civilian clothes, I can only imagine." He said, I dress up in various costumes and go out into the western desert and I look for the bad guys and I kill them." He said, I've killed a lot of them. And we had the most interesting discussion about the forgiveness of God and the need to be reconciled to the Lord as a result of what He was required to do. And we talked about the justice of God and how God uses various things in His justice. And he just wanted to know that God still loved him. And after that was said to me, never came up again. We had prayer, a blessing over him. And when he was available, he was always in chapel. And that same individual, one other quick story about that individual, because he was one of those guys that leads out front, hides in the shadows. You just don't see them, but they're there. I was asked to speak at a Anglican church outside of the Green Zone, a place called the Assassin's Gate. There's an Anglican church there that's been there since 1918. It was sort of out of my mission to do that. I was not there, but I was asked by the Iraqi Christian pastor to go there. And here's this individual that I had prayed with earlier who said, "I've got your back. I'll be watching you from the shadows. Don't worry about anything. Just preach the gospel." And to know that this gentleman and his team were concerned to take care of me so that, again, I could preach to about 500 Iraqi Christians. How humbling that is, that he laid his life on the line, was willing to sacrifice and die for me to get to this very difficult place and to get back home. And I could share stories like that the rest of the day of what I've seen in the heart and soul of our troops. I had a soldier that asked to see a chaplain one day at Walter Reed, and so I thought he might. I wasn't really sure what he wanted. We were giving out coins that day, so I thought he wanted maybe one of these recognition coins. And so I go up to the soldier and I see he's there with a young little wife, 3 kids. He's missing part of his left leg, he's missing his left arm, and he's missing his left eye. I'd been involved in some combat. And this soldier looked at me and he said, "Chaplain, I just want to thank you." I said, "Thank me? I want to thank you for ensuring that we had chaplains in Iraq and Afghanistan. He said, I could not go out and do what I do in my mission without knowing that a man of God was there nearby, praying us through.